Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Spiritual Spotlight series. Today, I am joined by Kay Cordell Whitaker. She is a medicine storyteller. She's an author. She's a podcaster. She is a teacher. She is so multifaceted. I can't even put her into a box. Kay, thank you so much for coming on the Spiritual Spotlight series. I'm so happy you're here.
Oh, thank you. I'm really happy to be here. Thank you.
I'm so excited. So, your journey from being a housewife and mother to becoming an apprentice of Peruvian shaman elders is fascinating. Can you maybe share a pivotal moment when you decided to embark on the spiritual path and what drew you to it?
Oh, well,
Start with the heavy
I met
stuff.
the first two teachers. Actually, it was one of the first two teachers. That was Damano Hedica in Santa Cruz. I was in my 20s, and it was storming and lightning, and I nobody was out of it. It was just a crazy storm. On the road is actually kind of a cliff down to the beach,
Wow.
and the waves were coming up on the path in the road. But I drove there anyway because I just absolutely had to be in the lightning, because this is Santa Cruz, California. You never get lightning.
Oh, wow.
They never have lightning. And I just had to be in it. I don't know why. I hadn't started studying yet or anything,
I love
but
that.
I just was drawn. And he was walking down the beach. That was the only other person on the beach there, and on top of the cliff, not the actual down in that was the beach was buried underwater because the storm was just blowing the water straight up over into the whole parking lot. It was crazy to be there. I could have been swept off real easily.
Wow.
Well, here's this guy. He was actually smaller than me, but he was just really marching down, and he was all wet, and he had white, like Mexican peasant clothes. I'm sure there's a name for him, but I don't know what that is. And his hair was long, and it was really wet. He was soaking, and I thought he was a vagrant. That time in Santa Cruz, there was a lot of vagrants, people living under the bridge, and with a lot of drugs and alcohol, and you had to be careful in certain
Yeah,
places that you went.
of course.
And I thought that's what he was. And he's yelling out to me, "I have something for you." And oh no. And I ran as best as
Wow.
I could back to the truck. And I was driving this really old, raggedy truck, and I was going, "Oh, please start, please start." I was really, really, really scared. The guy just really scared me, unnerved me. And even though his hair was down, it was mostly white,
Hmm.
but um, he was old.
Yeah.
But strong and fast and agile,
Hmm.
like a young man. And I didn't think about that till later, but I put the pieces together, thinking about that, and it just didn't add up. People with the white hair like that, I never had ever known anyone that wasn't kind of stuck in a rocking chair and crippled and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Yeah. So later I met him again. Um, I don't think that was actually an accident, but he invited me to his house near the beach and meet his wife, and he wanted to teach me. He wanted to give the tribal teachings
Wow.
to me, and I thought, that's that interesting, but I don't think so. So he kept trying to get me to go to his place,
Yeah.
and I didn't intend to, but I didn't want to be rude. So I kind of said, "Oh yeah, yeah, sure. Tuesday, I'll be there." Yeah. But I didn't intend to go. I ended up going, long story short. And I wasn't quite sure if I wanted to continue, even after the first meeting. I met his wife. She scared me more than he did.
Mm.
Um, but the more they taught me, I kept going back. The more they taught me, um, I knew something was there. They had something. She was just as white haired and wrinkled, uh, but very strong, very agile, and physically able, alert,
Mhm.
just spot on with a focus. I didn't know how to add that up. Like the old ladies and men that I was familiar with, that were my relatives, were sitting on a rocking chair
Right.
together with, and rocking and sipping on something, and they rarely get up out of their chair, and they don't,
They're
they can't get
sedentary, right?
around. It's
Yeah.
very sedentary, and not fast, not mentally
Mhm.
clever like that. So that's how I decided was, the proof. As Damano used to say, the proof is always in the pudding. And those two, the pudding was just uh, mind twisting, and they had something that I wanted. I mean, I realized it. It took me a while to put my finger on what that really was,
Mhm.
but they had something big that I wanted, something important. And I studied with them for 13 years.
That was the question I was just about to ask. How long did you study with them
Yeah.
for? Wow, 13 years. Wow,
Yeah.
that's impressive. Now, would they consider themselves to be medicine storytellers?
Oh, yes.
Can you
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about what that means and how does it contribute to personal transformation and healing?
It's a, um, it's kind of like a title in their own language. That would be kind of like the title of what kind of medicine person they were. But they
Mm,
were both medicine people. They were both Kalakanases. That means medicine storyteller.
thank you.
And uh, a medicine storyteller, for them, medicine is energy,
Mm,
and it's what we are giving and receiving all the time, to each other, to the world around us. And that the word medicine is used uh, to describe the quality of the energy,
mm.
that it is health giving, health restoring, and awakening. And for
Oh,
them, in their culture, to be a medicine person, you have to be very strictly on this path to do what they call waking up, which, it means being enlightened, you know, reaching nirvana, and not having any karma anymore, all those kinds of words that are used from the East. But with to compare waking up, because it's used a lot, that
yeah,
phrase is used a
it
lot
is. You're
with a
right.
lot of modern spiritual people.
Mhm.
And for the Hedekas, it means getting rid of
Oh.
all the programming, all the blind beliefs that we've ever held, and what they call a mask,
Mm.
and a mask. And the masks are the programming. This is what people have taught you since you were literally born, or possibly in the womb still.
Yeah.
And we are brainwashed. We're programmed to think we're a certain person, a certain way, that the world is a certain way, and I'm the kid, they're the mother, that's a teacher, that's authority, uh, everything around us, everything in our world. And so waking up means to just break that open, like Humpty Dumpty's egg, just cracking out of the egg and letting it go. And what happens to people being programmed like that from birth, they're very addicted to that programming and the
Yeah.
way of thinking and the way of feeling. And all of that interior life, that interior way of being, has to change in order to be able to understand the medicine, understand the teachings, and be able to receive it, like take it. They talk about it as taking it in, soaking it up, becoming it. You become the medicine. And they have a very beautiful, poetic way of talking. And in their whole language, if you could imagine this, in the whole language, they have no word for judgment or condemnation.
That's amazing.
There's a bunch of words that are like that are more aggressive and violent
Hmm.
and controlling in our language. They don't have that in their language.
Wow.
And they grow up without those concepts, and they grow up with the medicine talk. And their tribe was very remote.
Yeah,
And
it's
the way they raise their children, all of these teachings are available to anybody, free to anybody
wow.
in their tribe. They don't interact with other tribes very much, just a
Mm.
couple of local people who have some similar language and that kind of stuff. But they've stayed away from other people because they want to keep the teachings pure.
Wow.
These Peruvians were their teachings come from pre-flood as well. They come from Lemuria, the continent of Lemuria, and that was sinking. A lot of people ran in every direction, and they made their new homes. This was a group that went to central Peru, and they went around to different areas and eventually up the mountains and eventually over the mountains and way into the valley. Now, when I first told people the story that they had big villages and stuff that they brought from Lemuria, brought from home, and they just had huge, many thousands of people living in a town. These were sophisticated.
Yeah,
They thought I
very
was crazy
sophisticated.
because everybody had only seen jungle, and they didn't think there was anything out there. But in recent times, they've been discovering these huge towns in the Amazon, just on the east side of the Andes, and spreading out over, which is a much flatter land, but it's thick, thick jungle. It's very heavy, dense jungle. And then for some reason, I don't know exactly why, but certainly partly because they had other people moving in
Mm.
and they didn't want to mix with them. So they would just get up and move and leave and go into a more remote place. And they moved back up into the jungle on the east side of the Andes.
Wow.
So
It's amazing that they've been able to keep this so pure for so many, many, many years. Like that's their path.
that
Like
was
that's
their promise, their path, and they were vigilant, and their whole tribe is is based around keep the teachings pure.
yeah,
If you're going to learn the teachings, it has to be accurate. You have to learn it the the full teachings.
right,
You can't just learn a little piece here and a little piece there. Uh, you have to learn the whole thing and incorporate it.
right.
The
And really,
pre-flood
really,
Egyptians were exactly the same. They did the exact same thing. Somewhere around 10,000 BC, they sent the priests and the priestesses and people of the temples didn't like the people who were coming in, and they knew times were changing, and they were uh, corrupt.
mm,
Their teachings and their temples and the temple people, and they were they just didn't want to be around them and be influenced by them. So they got into a bunch of different groups and went all over the world. They sent themselves to remote places. And Tibet was one of those places. There's places in Africa, like the Dogon
mm,
people, and North and South America, probably Australia as well.
that's
So
amazing. It's like discovering like different ways of being that's more enlightened, that's
And
phenomenal.
they were there. That was a very brilliant culture that got destroyed somewhere around the Younger Dryas 10,000-ish years ago.
Right. Right. Oh, it's just thank you. It's just phenomenal. So let me ask you this: can you explain the concept of song that is taught by your teachers and its significance in the process of healing and waking up in the, I don't want to mispronounce it, Kadasi tradition?
Katasi.
Katasi. Thank you. Tradition.
Yeah, it has an unusual accent to it. Everybody always pronounces it wrong. But it is simple. It's just Katasi.
Katasi.
Yeah, Katasi means balance, or the long version of the translation is I'm you and me together are setting the world in balance.
Mm.
That's what it means. And they knew that these times were coming, that we would reach the day that we are in right now. And they call this the end of a world, an era, the end of this era. They
Wow.
do use the word world, but they're not talking about terrible destruction, or they mean the culture has to change. The old world has to die away because it's just falling apart. So to get to song is how they describe their totality,
Mm.
their spirit, their soul, however, those kind of words that people want to use or they understand. It's that energetic consciousness as well as your physical body. And they use the word song because it is a poetic reference. It doesn't have anything to do directly with songs or singing,
Hmm.
but it describes the nature of our whole being, our energetic entity that we are. And they believe that we are very, very, very old, that our entities go back for countless ages. And we are very vast. The song is very vast, very ancient, and full of memories. We've been to a lot of places on Earth, but the world's a big place. That's a big universe out there.
Absolutely.
Real big and real old. And we've been around for who knows how long. We've had many different kinds of lives.
Mm.
We've been on different planets. We've spent time doing things like hanging out in the nebula and just do make a planet, help the planet
Yeah.
get made and things like that. So we have that knowledge and that the memories inside us, and we can tune into them.
Mm. So let me ask you this, because I've read this as one of your things that you talk about is about to control our attention. So why is it so important to learn to control our attention?
Because our song is pure attention. It is pure attention,
Wow.
pure awareness. We learn to focus our song, our attention, and we have different goals, we have intent. And that's where our power as a human, as an entity that has lived through the ages, that's what our power is. It's our attention.
Mm.
And it is quite remarkably powerful. And that's one of the things that we are learning when we're studying this medicine tradition. In order to get rid of our masks, to get rid of the old programming, you have to learn who you actually are, who you really are. Excuse me. And who we really are is our song. And we learn about what our song is because it has a certain feeling to it. It has a very, very unique and special feeling. And all we have to do is turn our attention to feel that. And the way we do that is with a song ceremony. And that's the most important ceremony of the Hedekas, because they do the song ceremony for sunrise or for the beginning of some other ceremony or to celebrate a marriage or any excuse whatsoever.
Right.
And everybody, even tiny kids, are encouraged to join the song ceremony. And what the song ceremony teaches you is to take your attention and get it as focused as you can and focus it on something that happened in your life that's happy, fun, exciting. And it could be something, if you really love roller coasters and it's very exciting, very happy for you, that's something to use. Or it could be just seeing a flower in the snow that just caught you and gave you this feeling.
Yeah.
It could be seeing a brand new baby puppy or kitty and getting to hold it and cuddle it. That feeling, that happiness, that falling in love. I mean, you're falling in love with that little puppy or the kitty. Or if you have memories of falling in love with a person, and just the love that you feel it engulfs you. It just swoops over you, and you're just really enjoy. What that is the feeling of our song. That's who we are. We are that feeling. That's what our song feels like. And it has a unique signature. So in the ceremony, we turn our attention to this moment of happiness and bring it back. We bring it back and bring it back, and we feel it and follow it. And in the song ceremony, we could be, whoever's guiding it could guide us anywhere, into ourselves, into the cosmos, into our old memories. And we feel it, we engage it, we explore it, we learn who we are and what the feeling of our own song is. It's very key. The feeling of your song, the feeling of that happiness is absolutely key.
That's very profound because I feel a lot of people don't even feel into themselves. They don't even know what that is, like to really truly feel into themselves. So to feel into your song and how that is in you, that's very profound.
Mm, I
I don't know.
agree. I I
It's
agree.
amazing. Like that's like, yes, that's amazing. Like everyone should do that. I want to shift gears just a little bit, and
Mhm.
you have two books, The Reluctant Shaman and The Sacred Link. Sacred Link. Can you tell the listeners a little bit about both of these books?
The Reluctant Shaman is the first one, and the very beginning chapter, I tell the story of meeting Demano on the beach and just being super terrified and running away. And then I kept meeting him, and he invited me to his house and to meet his wife and to receive these teachings. And I go through, um, in a way, it's sort of like a autobiography of about 3 years of my first 3 years of being taught by them, and some of the things that they taught me and what they asked me to do just before they left after the 13 years. They asked me to write these books, which,
Wow.
yeah, I was not allowed to write anything about them the whole 13 years, not a single note, no recordings, no writing things down when I got home to try to remember them, or I had to promise that I wouldn't do that.
Wow.
And that was in order to train my mind and my perception out of college. I just started college, and I was very, very linear. I was a good note taker. I was a good list maker and a note taker, and I do the same thing with that. It would just keep me stuck in the linear mind,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't be able to incorporate it or feel it or really um, remember it in my body, in my mind, my song. So I wasn't allowed to write, record anything. Tell the kids, couldn't talk to the kids, couldn't talk to the guy that I was with. It was, yeah, that was
Wow.
hard. That was hard. And I slipped a couple of times, but wiggled my way out of that.
You are human.
So,
So after 13 years, they allowed you to then put
well,
some
they asked me
information.
to. And
Wow.
when an elder asks you to do a favor, which is something they rarely do,
Right.
you say yes. You do not say no.
Right.
It just it would be beyond impolite. It
Oh,
just would be the worst thing that you could say. So
wow.
I'm they're asking me, would you write this down? And you
Wow.
write about your experiences, you write about us and what we taught you as
Yeah.
best as you accurately as you can, and tell about your experiences of it. What were you feeling? What were you thinking in the middle of those sequences of learning the teachings and doing certain ceremonies or exercises? Some of this stuff was really difficult for Westerners to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, ooh, I never got that good at grades in English, in literature and writing. And so, oh, gee, you're asking me to do this. Well, of course I said yes. And of course I immediately started some sort of organized plan to do the writing.
Wow.
And they asked me to teach. And I was scared to death to get in front of a class. Or an audience. Boy, whew,
But
yeah.
you love to teach now.
But I do now. Yeah.
Wow. Because
Yeah,
you do teach these now. You
I
have the
do.
call of your song, you have the
I do.
weavings, you have the apprenticeship. Like you offer
Yeah.
all these amazing programs.
I've been teaching ever since. And these things happen in kind of funny ways sometimes. When I was telling them yes, yes, I thought, I'm not going to advertise. I'm the Egyptian lady, she advertises around town, and so, I'm not going to do that. I don't want to have to get up in front of people and uh, do any of that kind of stuff. But here comes my friends that I had known in the Native American culture, the North American culture, and we went to Sweat Lodge together and Sundance
Wow.
and all that stuff. And they just came up to me out of the blue and asked me for like a divination. And the Hedicas call that a bone reading.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's part of the teachings. So another thing that I do as a part of the teaching takes a long time to do, because you have to apprentice with all these
Wow.
different animal spirits in order to acquire each bone. And they tell you, what the bone means and how it's going to play and everything. And I hadn't told anybody about the bones ever. The
Wow.
whole time I hadn't studied, and so yeah, I can't do that. So I was just flabbergasted that what do you think I'm going to do? And what's your question? Don't tell anybody else. I'll do it for you, but don't tell anybody.
I love it.
But of course, that's the Indian community. They're gonna gossip about it. They're gonna talk around about it.
Yeah.
So I was asked to do healings and asked to do bone throws and asked
Wow.
to teach individuals and teach a class, put a class together. I didn't have any idea how to do it. but I immediately found friends that did, and
Nice.
it just took off from there. It sort of did itself. And
It's amazing. Like all of the programs that you offer, they're all on her website. I strongly encourage everybody to go and check it out. Like just because they look profound, like amazing. I was sitting there looking at them like, oh, I'll sign up for that. I'll sign up for that. I'll sign up for that. Like, it's just amazing. Um, before I ask you the last question, if anyone is interested in, oh my goodness, I'm so like all this energy is like too much for me right now. If anyone is interested in working with you and learning more about you, what is the best place for them to go to?
our website,
And
yeah,
your website is
we have worldinbalance.com, and we have katasi.com. And from there, any other subsequent um, sub subhead websites, or Helmut, that my husband Helmut does that.
well, he did a
I'm
really good
not
job on your
I'm not a
website. His is
techie.
awesome.
Yeah, I'm not a techie. He does that. He's fabulous at that, and keeping it going, and doing all that stuff. And he does have everything is there. All the links are there, and we have an archive library of many videos that we've done,
Nice.
and we got the classes, and
Classes are amazing.
uh, the and individual healings, individual bone throws. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. So I love this question that you have up. It says, what are the secrets to staying balanced and centered in our crazy world?
Mm. Well, the secrets of that, and to help yourself to kind of learn to shed all the stuff that keeps you wound up and closed off and worried and full of anxiety, um, tired all the time,
Mm,
uh, having a moods and attitudes that you don't know where they pop up. They're just coming out of some place, and all of a sudden you're angry, or you're just all withdrawn and hurt, and
yeah.
uh, that's what we call masks. And to do that, to learn how to undo them, to clean them out, and to find out who you actually are, that starts with that first class. That first class. And sometimes we offer a free gratitude ceremony, usually followed by a song ceremony. And that would be, most of the time, it's a Saturday or a Sunday morning with
Nice.
our sunrise, which is, I guess that we're in Mountain Time, United States Mountain Time. And doing the song ceremony is the first thing that you learn in the first class. It's free when you go to the gratitude ceremony and do that song ceremony. And that teaches you how to find the feeling of yourself. And if you keep following it, if you keep pursuing and reaching into that song, into the feeling of it, that's where all the knowledge is. That's where all your experiences are, your memories, everything. The knowledge that you carry, the gifts that you gained along the way, it's all there. And this knowing who you are is the beginning to answer all the questions. It comes first. Know who you are. Know your song.
I love that. I am so excited. I definitely want to learn my song 100%. Um, Kay, I want to thank you so much for coming on Spiritual Spotlight series. You are amazing. Thank you so much again.
Thank you. It has been a delight. Yeah.